Welcome to Off the Top Reviews, where we review movies and video games without any script. Right? Today we're gonna do Space Jam 2: Electric Boogaloo. Most people, and this movie has gotten a lot of shit in the fucking media nowadays. A lot of people claiming it's a clip show. A lot of people saying it sucks. I don't know if these people watched the original Space Jam because that movie was not that great. I don't fuck. I mean, that shit was no Saving Private Ryan or anything like that, right? It was a commercial too. It's just like a fucking basketball shoe commercial, and it worked very well, you know. Michael Jordan, like, he was sleepwalking through that fucking movie, you know. His acting was like terrible and shit. Um, it didn't really make any sense. Like, I don't understand why fucking Jordan would care that like these guys were trying to build an amusement park in Toontown or some shit. But anyways, on to Space Jam 2. What did I think about this movie? This movie was okay. Um, it was a kids movie, right? So there wasn't much to it, you know. The movie dealt with LeBron James, you know, forcing his views on his kids, and one of his kids he only wanted to make video games, and LeBron was like, "Oh, you got to be a basketball player, man. Fuck that shit." Like, working for like Activision or something like that, you know, making shitty games, or you could be like the next star NBA player, right? Um, so what happens is LeBron gets called into a pitch meeting for by this AI that's played by Don Cheadle, and then LeBron basically like shits all over Don Cheadle, and his like AI dreams get dashed or whatever. And what does he do? He decides to kidnap LeBron and his kid and force him to play basketball. So that was fairly logical, right? Like that's something that could happen, right? So how was he acting in this movie, right? The top of the game, top of the food chain, you have Don Cheadle, right? He was great. Looked like he was having like a lot of fun in this movie. You know, I mean, he wasn't taking it seriously. It's not a serious movie, right? Then below him, you had LeBron James' family, right? They were pretty good. You know, they weren't great. They weren't like Don Cheadle great, but they were okay, right? They were like passable. Then under that, you have like inanimate rocks and probably objects, you know, like frying pans and shit like that. And then under that, that's where you have like LeBron's acting, which was fucking terrible. His acting was like really fucking bad. There was points in the movie where you were just like, you know what? I'm gonna turn this shit off. This guy keeps talking, and I'm just gonna turn it off. Fuck. But you know, it was passable, I guess. Jordan's acting wasn't like all that great either, right? Um, so there isn't any space per se in this Space Jam, right? Like they don't go to outer space, but they do go to cyberspace. So it's a technicality. It's a Space Jam, basically, right? And it is kind of a long movie. It's like 2.5 hours or whatever. I felt like it was a tad bit too long, but I don't know. For me, it wasn't like terrible. It wasn't like the worst thing ever, right? It wasn't like the Mortal Kombat movie, which was fucking terrible, right? Let's see. There was a couple things I didn't like about the movie, right? LeBron's acting, obviously. Then you had like all these Warner Brother properties at the end, like they showed up at the basketball game or whatever, but they weren't the actual models. They were like off model. Like it was the fucking Wish version of Pennywise and shit, right? Like they had like the Iron Giant. It wasn't the Iron Giant. It was like the Iron Deficiency Giant. He was fucking terrible, right? However, if you could overlook that, because they weren't really doing anything, they were like hooping and hollering or whatever. If you could overlook that, I guess that's okay, right? And then the last thing, which I felt to me really knocked the movie down a couple points, was Porky Pig and his stupid fucking rap. That was the worst thing I've seen since the Mortal Kombat movie. It was fucking terrible, right? So I originally was gonna give this movie a 7, right? It's just like for a family movie, it was okay, right? Like you don't expect too much from it, and you have fun, right? However, Porky Pig dragged this down to like a 5. So I'm gonna give this movie a 5 out of 10, right? Do I suggest watching it? If you're gonna watch it with like some family and like have some popcorn or whatever, that's great. If you like Um, LeBron's acting. I can't see why anybody would want to watch that. Oh yeah, yeah. One other thing that I thought was terrible. Lola Bunny, when she went 3D, what the fuck happened to her face? Right? It looked like she got hit with like a fucking ironing board or some shit, bro. It was fucking terrible. The 3D Lola Bunny was fucked up. The 2D one was like, pretty good. She was alright. Whatever. Even though she got like a breast reduction or whatever, she was alright. So yeah, Space Jam 2 gets a 5 out of 10. It's a middle of the road, passable movie. All right. Thanks.